Hey everyone, how you doing today? So today's lesson is, or it's a how-to, and a lesson we followed was how to paint some clouds. So here are the paintings. So it's a lesson that I followed that was from Paul Clark's website. Obviously there's going to be a link below. If you want to skip the amateur, that would be me doing it, and go to the expert, go right to the link. If you want to see what I end up with results versus the expert, then stick with me. You'll see some things that I think are, I think this one's okay. I think that one's pretty good. I think that's a total fail, and that's pretty close to a total fail. So you'll see some things where I fail and some things where I do okay. So, yeah, glad to have you along. Let's get started. All right, so today we're doing skies. I found the video lesson on YouTube under Paul Clark's site. I'll leave you the link. 2 brushes, right? Alizarin crimson, cadmium yellow, cobalt blue, 3 colors. Yeah, so I'll tell you what I'm doing, and then I'll quietly do it so that we can fast forward that part. And I've got the 4 different pieces on the one sheet. No need to waste a lot of paper. Yeah, I guess let's get started. So we'll do over here first, which is a blue sky with puffy clouds. So you start by wetting it down, wet the paper down first, and then do a cobalt blue wash that's gradual from top to bottom. And then you'll see me come back in with some paper towels and blot out some clouds, right? The clouds work with, harder you press, the whiter it'll get, right? Keep the bottoms of the clouds flat. Okay, let's get started. I'm just letting my pen, getting my paintbrush clean, drying it out. And just take some swipes and make wispy little clouds in the background. Good. Let's let this dry. Okay, so now we've got a shadow mix that's, you can see it, right? As I stir it, it's red, yellow, and blue mixed together, right? So now I'm just going to drop in shadows on the bottom of the clouds, on all of the clouds. Just bring some shadows in. To wet the paper first, which is why they're not acting appropriately. Okay, now let it dry again. Okay, so one of the techniques that he does in these videos that I really like is he'll come back and work and soften the edges. So now that everything's dry, we can come back with some paper towels and just... And there you go. Alright, so going on to the next technique. So in the video, he talks about randomly putting water in here and then adding blue in. I would suggest you want to have some idea of where your clouds are going to go. because where you leave the water is what you want to work with clouds. So then I'm taking the blue and basically finding the water. While everything's still wet, get our shadow mix, come in and just drop in some suggestions of shadows along the bottoms of the clouds. So that's just a bloody mess. That's the only way I can describe that. So far this technique works a lot better for me. I'm going to mix up some shadow again and try it again over here, more random. Alright, so a couple of things I noticed watching it again. He didn't mention that you swipe across the bottom, almost giving you a graduated wash, but you're just trying to keep this in a few areas as white. So let's give it a go again. I just set up with new water before starting. And that's not a criticism by any means. This gentleman has been painting for a long time. He's really good at this. I haven't. I'm not anywhere near as good. So, oh, and I'm going to run out of cobalt blue. And then what he shows is add in the shadow suggestions and then let the page run. So I'm going to have to not pause the video but move everything out of the way and then pick up the page. So okay, we've let the paint run and we've got a big nasty God knows what. It sure doesn't look like sky to me, but okay, I'm going to continue to try. Now some clean water to soften up some of these edges. Toss in a little cobalt blue to darken up some of the places. I'm going to take a moment of the last video and just lightly try to suggest some other clouds in the background. Pick up some of the details. Okay, let it dry. Okay, I'm not convinced. But this is definitely better than the first attempt. So I guess with time, I might actually be able to get better at it. What I'm trying to do now is soften up some of the issues I had with some water. Right, so it's not quite so. Maybe a little more blue. That needs some softening. Eh. Okay. So this one's a stormy sky, and we're supposed to be creative and go crazy and use whatever colors we want and put them in diagonal washes across the page. Alright. And again, once we get to a place where we're kind of happy with it, and I think I'm not yet, I need to be bolder. So, because I always forget that paint dries lighter. Okay, I'm going to darken some of the sky in the background. Let's let that dry a little bit, see what it looks like. Alright, so I let that dry a little bit. It's still damp for sure. Okay, you know. Video says be bold, so I tried to be bold, and yeah. And then you finish off with a little detail of a hill in the background to give it some semblance. Actually, you didn't use the pre-mixed. It's pretty obvious that that was put in with. Okay, not the worst thing I've ever painted, but so there's one more painting in this tutorial to go. My initial take is that this is the way that I'm much more comfortable with, and I think works really well. This is going to take a lot more practice, and this is okay. I mean, just as a stormy sky kind of thing with the sunset going on, okay. So I'm going to take a few minutes and get the next piece of paper down, and then we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to do summer evening sunset. So there's some yellow mixed up here. It's mostly yellow, just a spot of red to give it a warm to it. I'm going to wet down the whole paper and then do a graduated wash from here to top to the bottom. And then we're going to let it dry until it is completely dry. We'll come back and do some purple. Okay? So that's the process. Alright, so that'll dry later, obviously, so let's let it dry. Alright, so we're back. This is all dry and it flattened out nicely, which is great. So we're going to wipe the board down. We're going to run purple in diagonal spans from clouds up here down and fill in some and see where we go. Oh, and tilt the board, so let me get prepped for that. So I'm not going to have my normal paint visual and all of that. But really what I've done is I've mixed up a purple, which is half and half, and we'll let that be. Okay, so... Okay. Lift the board. Great. Bring some more darker purples in. Lift again, get some movement. Now I thought I had enough purple, obviously I don't. Now hopefully what will happen, according to the video it's supposed to, the purple or the blue and the red separate. Okay, I can start seeing the blue and the red separating a little bit here. Yeah, and in here. Okay. Okay, so the last bit was just to put in a dark silhouette, sort of a, well, whatever you want. And he made a little chapel thing, so that sounds like fun. So I'm going to do that. Just adding a little more pigment to get it nice and dark. Great. So end bit here. Good techniques to know. So in my world, this one I was the most successful with. Right? It's nice to know how to do a gradient wash, and then bringing this back in, you can actually see some of that separation in the dark the shadow, which was a mix of paints, so you can see them separating. This is total garbage. This is okay-ish. This is fun. Not sure I would make it a sky, but I need to practice this technique some more. And I think this one was, here. This is okay. Great. What I did wrong, I think, here is instead of doing little bands, I actually kind of almost did a wash, right? Instead of letting it read like clouds that run across. But still, it works okay. All right, thanks. Yeah. You know how it goes. Just leave me comments, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more.